Naast mij zit Randall Moore en hij belichaamt eigenlijk de digitale revolutie in de gezondheidszorg. Ik praat met hem in de Innovation Café, zoals dat heet hier op de beursvloer van eHealth, over the world's most advanced virtual hospital, as it has been called. What's it all about?
Mercy Virtual is really not about a hospital. It's not about just virtual. It's really about transforming care and health. So we broke healthcare into health and care. What we found, the stimulus behind it was there are many gaps in how and when we provide healthcare, and there is much more focused on care that is often late than in health, which is earlier. So Mercy Virtual is a mechanism to move from one model of care to a more comprehensive model of health and care.
Why was it necessary?
You could argue nothing is necessary, except the U.S., like most of the world, is having a growing crisis in the cost of healthcare. And our experience showed that if we focused on bringing care proactively to people, making it more specific to their needs, that we could cut the cost of care by 30 to 50%. And in the U.S., when you're talking about $3.5 or $4 trillion, that's a very substantial opportunity for our society, and it's not that much different from most places. I believe in the Netherlands, there's probably an opportunity to reduce care.
Always.
That's by 30% or more.
Yeah.
But we should be reinvesting it in health so that people don't need care, and that we can serve people to live longer and better.
Let's say I'm a citizen in Kansas. How does it work?
In Kansas. Yeah, the beauty of virtual is you don't have to be there. So the doctor can be anywhere, or a team, and the patient can be anywhere. So long as we don't have to physically invade somebody's body, the care we're delivering can be done through technology. So big advantage. Think of Mayo Clinic spoke this morning, and people fly from around the world to see Mayo Clinic. But 80% of the time, that could be done virtually.
Yeah.
And you don't have to travel to cold Rochester, Minnesota to have that expertise.
Do I become a member? Do I pay? How does it work in practice?
It works all over. So you may say, I want to pay so I don't have to go to the doctor. To go to the doctor, I have to take a day off of work.
Yeah.
And that costs me money. But if I could see the doctor for my problem on my smartphone, that could take 20 minutes. So I may pay. But as a health system, the hospital may say, I will pay for the virtual care because it will decrease our net cost of taking care of the person that we've already been paid to take care of.
And if a critic would say, okay, you say you're outstanding, prove it to me, what would you answer?
Yeah, I first never say we're outstanding. I say we are a part of the solution. We don't want to take away anything that's done today unless it naturally goes away from a better result. As an example I used in the session was we use intensive care teams. The same doctors and nurses that take care of people at bedside, we have them do part of their time in the virtual ICU. What they can do is bring their expertise 24 hours a day. So how are we better? We say it's not virtual is better, it was virtual plus the existing system. And what happened was over 1,000 people who were predicted to die from their illness did not die. And why did that happen? Because instead of the doctor being largely available during the day and the team, it was 24 hours a day. Instead of just a health record, it was having algorithms and artificial intelligence running to spot problems earlier.
And what have you learned from people who took a look at your virtual hospital and who had critical remarks about it? What did you really find as a lesson?
Yeah, the critical remarks was, and this happens because too many people in virtual care wanted to say, oh, virtual care is the answer, and criticize the existing system. Well, I would never not want to have a hospital to go to. So the criticism was also often from not understanding what Mercy Virtual was doing. It wasn't, for instance, the intensive care going to the doctor and saying, you're not doing a good job. Instead, it was saying, can we give you tools so instead of seeing the patient on your rounds each day, we can bring you and your colleagues to the patients 24 hours a day just in time.
Have you tried it yourself when you fell ill?
I have not. Fortunately, I've been pretty healthy. I would not hesitate to. And I have many friends and family members who have used it. So again, it is
like for instance, just name one person and what kind of illness and what kind of practice followed.
Easy one. Have an operation. Normally, somewhere 4 to 6 weeks after the operation, you go back to the doctor to be checked.
And once again, and once again.
And once again, and once again. And the doctor the surgeon will tell you, well, I probably didn't need to see you. We could have done that through technology. A wound check. You do a surgical wound. 7 days later, you want to make sure there's no infection. That's 2 seconds of observation by the surgeon. Should you drive 20 miles and sit in a waiting room? So very easy solutions on top of very complex.
How did you set it up? I mean, in contact with patients, colleagues of yours, insurance companies, etc.
We tried in general to find what would make what they're doing easier, better, cheaper. So depending on who it was. If it was a doctor, I wanted to show how it would improve his or her practice, make their life less stressful, give their patients a better outcome. If it was a patient, I wanted to show them how it would make their life easier and how it would complement the existing care they're given. With patients, it was particularly important to say, if you want to see your doctor, you want to go in the hospital the way you always have, that you can. But if you want to not have to drive to the hospital or doctor, we can help that too. So again, it was important to not force it on the people, but to find ways to make their life better. Most of us use our smartphones and technology to make our lives better. Apple cannot force us to use the phone, right? But we use it all the time through value. So the focus is on value.
What did you change when it existed? Something exists, you want to make it better. What did you change?
My personal belief is to find people who know the system can work differently, but may not have the experience with virtual care to know how to do it. So we would listen to what they thought should be different, and then we would build a solution that we knew could do 4 things all at the same time. It had to improve the outcome of the person, the patient. It had to improve the health status and the experience of health. It had to lower costs because we believe that's an issue for everyone. And it had to make the life of the professional, the doctor, the nurse, more fulfilled with less work.
Well, what do you consider a dilemma when it comes to a virtual hospital? I mean, it's not always easy to find a 100% perfect solution for anything in life. There are always dilemmas, always doubts. What was it, or is a dilemma for you when it comes to a virtual hospital?
It's not been a dilemma again because we did not take anything away. People would come to us and say, wow, you figured it out. And we would quickly say, no, we have not figured it out. We have created some solutions. We're very early in our journey. We had to be comfortable at failing fast because we were doing new things. We couldn't pretend that everything we did would work. And so we would try things and continue to build. If it worked, we'd continue to build upon it.
Can you give us one example of something you changed because you learned?
Sure. An example, one of our hospitals became short of doctors for nighttime. They're called hospitalists. So our hospitalists were very stressed, the ones that were remaining, and also ready to quit because of the workload. We could not bring more hospitalists to that community, but what we could do is use the virtual to bring their colleagues from other communities to that hospital virtually. So we allowed our hospitalists to take care of the sickest patients, to do admissions to the hospital, the ones that were on site. But for all the calls that came, which were calling every 7 minutes, the doctor was being interrupted to take care of another patient. We took all those phone calls and we moved them to a virtual hospitalist. And then we could take care of many more patients, and we could use those virtual hospitals not with one hospital, but with all of our hospitals. Because you never know when one hospital is really busy and another hospital is not busy.
Yeah.
So it gave us workload balancing.
Yeah. How much time did you need to get the investment being paid back?
We tried to look at every program early on as something that would pay back quickly. What that meant is we generally needed to go to sicker patients who were, in the absence of virtual care, going to incur substantial expense in the coming months. And by avoiding that expense, we could usually find the person paying for it willing to pay us for virtual care. So in that situation, the return on the investment happened quickly. Now, what you may not get there is your biggest return, but we needed to build a proof that this was a better business model.
Yeah.
Once the confidence is built, more investment, more capital could be applied towards it, or more budget from the government.
Would you say this is a solution for Holland too, or do you have doubts about that?
I believe I've been to Holland several times. I've been to Ireland, to China, to Korea, many places talking about virtual care.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we say healthcare is different everywhere. But everywhere I've been, a heart failure patient is the same. An emphysema patient is the same. Their medical problems and our solutions we can provide are the same. Almost all countries, in fact, I have not found one yet without tremendous waste because we wait for people to come to the hospital.
Yeah.
And by then, very expensive, very sick. So most of what we can do in virtual to create value right away, and including in Holland, is to take our experts and bring them to people instead of waiting for people to come to our experts.
What is your estimation about the near future, and which way will things develop?
You never know.
But the near future,
in the near future, I think two fronts. One, will create consumer convenience for people who are not very sick. I believe, though, that most of that will be a decision by the consumer to spend the money because it's additive to the cost today. But it's much more convenient by a potentially higher value. I believe where we'll see the highest value is working inside of hospitals and to build on programs that have not been scaled yet and have not really used technology the way it can be done to substantially lower the cost of caring for our most expensive patients.
Last question, do you ever feel afraid of becoming ill nowadays?
As a doctor, I learned a long time ago I would rather be on the doctor's side of the bed. Healthcare has at once made tremendous advances, and we can keep people alive today that we never could in the past. We can get better outcomes.
Yeah.
What I am not afraid of being ill, but I am driven by the passion to make sure we realize the value we can deliver that we're not delivering today.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.